Hi everyone. This is a quick example of the power of midpoints. Given that I've just recently spoken about midpoints in my last video, which was part two of the new moon in Capricorn, and somebody asked a question in the comments, which I deleted it. So if you're listening, yes, I deleted it because the question was just a little bit too personal, and I didn't really feel that I wanted to, disclose my personal life on YouTube. However, it did prompt me to think about how I can put it out there in a way that it might serve everybody else without going into too much personal detail and content of myself, because I just don't prefer not to do that. So basically, it's pretty simple. So Ceres at the moment, the goddess Ceres, which I've done a class on this, by the way. And if you want to understand Ceres in a very in-depth and detailed level, reach out. That class is available. Part of my classes from two courses that I created last year. So I have many, many classes, as a matter of fact. And if you're interested in the whole course or the whole two courses or singular classes, just reach out. Ceres is one of the goddesses that we worked on, and she is, well, personally speaking, she's quite a prominent asteroid goddess in my own birth chart. And at the moment, she's actually sitting on some really, really important, sensitive points in my chart. So, relative to Tom Jacobs, who recently transcended, I think the person asked why I was triggered, emotionally and so forth, relative to Tom Jacobs' transcendence. And first of all, let me just say this: I had and still do have tremendous respect for that particular individual, and really appreciate the work that he contributed to the community, to the astrological community, and to the numerous and countless people that he would have helped. That I even don't even know how many. Don't know who they were or anything like that. But I have very good instincts and very good intuition. And I know when someone is genuine and authentic and real and actually cares. And that's just how it is. And I don't need to prove that. I don't need to explain it. I'm just simply saying that that is a fact for me. And I know this about Tom Jacobs. So hence the respect that I have for him. Relative to him, why it's affected me, I'll try and explain it astrologically. Transiting Ceres, and before I actually explain astrologically where it is for me, let me just remind you all, or perhaps for those of you that are not aware of what Ceres activates, she is the goddess. Well, she's the goddess of many, many different things, but one thing that she absolutely, undeniably corresponds to is grief. Really, really deep, 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 painful grief. And that can be about anything, a person, a job, whatever. It can be about anything. It's not the story or the incident is not what defines the complexity and the depth of the grief, but rather just that it is Ceres herself, okay? Which is underpinned from her story in Greek myth, that is that she is the mother of Persephone, who was abducted by Pluto. Most of you would have heard that story. That story is one of my favorite myths, actually, because it's a story that we all experience in our own way, sometimes multiple times in one lifetime, sometimes once or twice, right? It just depends on each of us. But it is a very powerful story, an allegory for the matters of life where we have to step through and have to experience a sense of loss and grief, right? It's just inevitable that we experience these things. And so she is the symbol that really activates those kind of experiences. And so much so that when my own father transcended, the day that he left this world, I had a Ceres return, literally to the second. So she's very, very powerful to track. At the moment, she is actually she's approaching towards a conjunction to my moon, as I have moon in Aquarius. She's been over my ascendant because I have an Aquarius ascendant. And technically, at the moment, she's actually at the midpoint of my moon and ascendant. So when you have a specific planetary body or asteroid, for that matter, that is activating certain midpoints. So, say for example, you've got a planet or whatever it is in your first house, and therefore you've got this potential midpoint between the ascendant and the planet in the first house. So that's a very, very, very volatile, sensitive point. Why? Because the ascendant is based on your time of birth, right? It's the most sensitive point in the chart. It corresponds to many, many, many things, including when the soul chose to be born. So, in order to have an accurate ascendant, you've got to have an accurate time of birth, and it is the most powerful point in the chart, period. So, Ceres at the moment has been passing over my ascendant, is at the midpoint of my ascendant and moon, and so is very, very close to my moon as well. And so, Ceres is a goddess of grief, and so at this point in time, during Christmas and all this, this time of the year, which is often an extremely difficult time for me, as I know it is for many, 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 many people on the planet. I'm very aware of that. I'm just simply sharing how I experience it since my dad left this world. And it just happened to coincide with a very difficult time for me. And then the transcendence of Tom Jacobs as well. And the combination of the complexity of grief that is still inside me and sort of merging with the situation with Tom Jacobs just really just amplified grief, because Ceres is right near my moon, right near my ascendant, in my first house. So where am I feeling it? I'm feeling it in my whole body, right? Deeply. And I just really wanted to also demonstrate the power of midpoints again, because she is, relative to my own chart, right at the midpoint of my ascendant and moon. And I would not know that if I didn't have an accurate time of birth. So anyway, this was just probably a 10 minute sharing, really just to address perhaps a couple of questions that people asked, and also to remind people of the power of the goddess Ceres, regardless of whether she's prominent in your chart or not. She represents these very deeply complex matters of loss, grief, but also renewal as well. As I said, I have a class on her if you'd like to learn more about it. And also, I just mentioned in the community section, I spoke a little bit about Venus, Pallas Athena, Venus, Morning Star Venus, which is what we are going to transition towards in, I think it's around the 20th of March. Very interesting. Very close to the true new year, of course, astrological new year. So that's quite interesting. Anyway, I'm considering putting together a little workshop for probably a very small group. I say a small group because I think that the level that I'm going to go into, which will include looking at people's charts, would is very it's quite complex and quite time consuming. And so if I had 15 people in the group or even 10, it would just take way too long. So I'm thinking a very, very small group, so like maybe 5 people, which will be nice and intimate. And yeah, so anyway, relative to that, if you're interested, just send me an email. So what we'll do, in case you're wondering, well, what is this about? What we'll do is we will look at the Venus star point, which is the Sun-Venus conjunction occurring in March. Okay. Where that is relative to things in your own chart. that's probably one of your own Venus star points as well. Not probably, it actually is, because the Aries Venus star point has been in play for 100 years already. So it is actually one of your own Venus star points. Now, whether it's the head, the left arm, the right arm, left leg, right leg, etc., we can have a look at that. And the other thing that I want to add in, and of course, what that means for you, over the next 4 to 8 years, etc. And we will also be looking at Venus's helical cycle, okay, which very simply put is when will Venus appear in the sky as a morning star after her conjunction to the sun, relative to your own birth chart, but your Babylonian chart is what we would look at. And so it is a lot of work for me to put this together because I would have to take everybody's, date of birth, time of birth, place of birth, and do all the prep before we actually meet up for the workshop. So I'm sure you can appreciate that it's going to take me quite a while to set that up, which is why I'm only going to choose probably about 5 people. What's the benefit of this? There's lots of benefits. Understanding the Venus star point, what that means for you, and what that kind of shows, over the next 4 to 8 years. And also the helical phase, that is, where will Venus appear in your Babylonian chart? That may or may not show up in a really prominent place, right? I won't know, and you won't know until we look at it together, right? But it may very well be that she becomes visible in an area of your chart that's extremely, extremely important. So her visibility, her appearance, corresponds to very specific omens at times, depending on where she shows up. So if you're interested in, exploring that, just let me know. I'll see you guys soon with much more. Once again, wishing you a very happy new year, calendar new year, happy new moon. It is a new beginning either way. And I'm hoping that everyone is safe and well. Much love and see you soon.